Welcome back. You're watching CNBC TV 18 Investment Guide. We are discussing what has been easily the sector of the year, pharmaceuticals. Now, Nitya, you know what? We discussed APIs, which is the other pocket of pharma, which is quite interesting right now. The last 3 months, everything we've heard is only API. Everything in API has just gone up. But what's the next subsector within pharma that we should keep an eye on?
I think large cap pharma is again very interesting. I think Shailesh mentioned earlier that this is the sector that has seen a sharp derating in the last 3-4 years. And that's largely due to a lot of pricing headwinds that came through in the US. So a lot of the opportunities that pharma companies used to chase in the US are what I call simple generics or easy to make products, and a classic cycle played through. It was very interesting for a while, and then too many competitors entered. There was too much capacities and price erosion started playing out. But now I think in the future, I see a fairly large $22 billion opportunity in complex generics. These are products which are very, very difficult to copy and make. Some examples being respiratory inhalers or long-acting depot injections. So there are $22 billion worth of brands that are coming off patent in the future. And this is a very interesting opportunity because this now gives pharma companies access to a far more sustainable profit pool. I think the biggest difference between simple generics and complex generics is the sustainability of the profit pool. So I see these as being meaningful for at least 3 or 4 years. So I think the companies that have been investing in this complex generic space for the last 3 or 4 years, who have stepped up R&D investments in this space, a Cipla or a Lupin or Dr. Reddy's to an extent, I think these are the companies that will now start seeing monetization of these investments. And through this, I think ROCEs will start improving sharply in the US. The other portion of the business which remains very meaningful for most of the names I cover is the India domestic formulation market. I firmly believe that the market will continue to grow at double digit for the next 3-4 years, regulations notwithstanding. But I think some of the larger companies which have established presence in a lot of chronic therapies, the ones that have a lot of large brands in the portfolio, the ones that have the right doctor coverage and the right productivity, these are the companies that will continue to outperform the market. And again, amongst the companies I cover, I would actually rate Sun, Cipla, and Lupin as having a very strong commercial execution muscle and an ability to continue to outperform the market. So I think relatively speaking, I would say large cap pharma is now at an inflection point where you should now start seeing a re-rating in the sector.
Okay, all right. So just to paraphrase what you said, complex generics is one space where you see a lot of the companies that have invested in it, they could perhaps monetize it going forward. So the names you mentioned, Lupin, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, and the domestic formulations business is something that could grow. Shailesh, you know, someone rightly once said that the pharma space is one which has landmines and gold mines. As an investor, if you want to avoid these landmines, what would your, your advice be, or your pearls of wisdom be?
The challenges of landmines does exist, like you said, some are regulatory in nature. The only way to handle all this is, invest in companies which are far more diversified in nature. So then what happens is they are not single trick or, single product companies. So that is one space. Once you have a broader portfolio, say the larger companies in India have a broader portfolio there, and they have an ability to bring in about 1,500 crore, 2,000 crore worth of investment in new product development, it automatically diversifies and de-risks the business model. So one-off event or a single plant dependence or a single product dependence reduces dramatically. If you have a regulatory issue on a single product, which is the most important product for the company, you actually end up sustainably losing a lot of value. So that is one critical area to look out for.
Okay. Shailesh, I want to know, so you've been investing in pharma stock for so many years. What's been your best buy? Something which has really, thrilled you, or give us some nice anecdotes.
Interestingly, over this 16 years of journey, we've seen a lot of companies. Actually, the sector was very small when about 15, 16 years back, where, size of companies were 500, 600 crores in revenues and, pretty subscale at that point of time. And you saw many new opportunities emerging, and they were visible to you. And we knew these were definitely longer term potential opportunities which are going to last 10, 15 years. Very simply put, you can take, say, the contract manufacturing business which is there. This company IPO'd at, say, a 170 crore market cap, and today trades at a 85,000 crore market cap, 500 times in the last 16, 17 years. And these were smaller businesses, all capabilities in play, and all clients in play. It is just that, over a period of time, you need to invest and gain market share and, launch or get into larger product programs of the big buyers or the large multinationals. So that's one big opportunity which, as investor, we have participated and stayed invested in. You've also had many such businesses, especially say in the domestic side. Thyroid was a problem in India and everybody knew it. The problem was diagnostics. Cost of treatment was 1 rupee a day. It's a chronic problem. The whole size of the market was just 200 crores divided into 2 brands in India about 7-8 years back. And 2 brands with nearly 50% market share, each was close to 100 crores. And the incidence of thyroid and, with greater diagnostics happening, you are finding that, it's like as chronic a problem as anything else in India. And those brands have now, each of them would have become 200, 250 crore brands in a period of just 5-6 years, and could have a journey because, very difficult to dislodge those kind of chronic brands in India. So they could well be 500 crore brands. Each one of them could be that sizes in the next few years. Similarly, you've come across many such opportunities, very small. They just compound as more patients get enrolled. And the large size of India's population itself is we've got 27 crore people over the age of 50 years in India. That itself creates a very large market because people over the age of 50 are far greater consumers of pharmaceuticals than people under the age of 50. So that market is continuously growing much faster than the overall broader market. And if you are in right therapies and all that, you just kind of compound for decades here. Compound for 10, 15, 20 years here.
The first stock, of course, Shailesh won't name them, that Shailesh is referring to, I think, is Divi's Labs. And I would say that, in 2003, I started my professional career. And that was the year I saw the IPO of Divi's and the journey of that stock.
Yeah.
You just have to see the stock price behavior of Divi's Labs. And that's what tells you, on a day when it fell 40%, you could have said, oh, it's down 40%. But look at the journey and the kind of money it's made.
Absolutely. All right. So if we still have some time, Nithya, final word from your end. I mean, we started this discussion by Shailesh telling us that this is a structural story in the pharma space. Do you concur, or do you think that the best of the good news is already in the price of these stocks?
No, I actually believe in what Shailesh was referring to as well. We had started seeing earnings upgrade happen even before the COVID crisis hit the market. I think pharma is in for a multi-year EPS growth cycle, and I think we are now in the part of the upcycle. And I think that will be driven by one complex generic opportunity after the other materializing in the US, supported by steady growth in the India market as well. So which is why I think the larger companies that have had the opportunity to invest in this space are likely to benefit from this complex generic trend. And you might see disproportionate returns come from the bigger names compared to the smaller names.
Okay.
So I firmly believe that there is a lot more room for valuation and re-rating in the sector beyond what you're already seeing, which is being triggered by COVID.
Okay, Nithya and Shailesh, I tell you, we can go on and on, but TV limits the time to 30 minutes, but it was a 30-minute well spent. Thanks a lot for joining us and telling us all about this complex sector, Sonia. It was good learning.
And I think half an hour is not enough. For any sector, it may be enough, but not for pharma for sure, right? There's so much to talk about. But thanks, guys, for joining us on this special edition of Investment Guide, where we kick-started a deep dive into different sectors. First on our radar was pharma. Next week, same time, same place, we'll be back with a brand new sector. Have a good day.